Hey, leaders, I hope that you all have been prospering in your purpose and dominating in your destiny. Welcome to another leadership talk where our series is focused on emotional intelligence for emerging leaders. If you're excited about growing in emotional intelligence, type EI in the comments. I am Takumbo Kalaja. Some people call me Coach Takumbo, and I am elated to help people to do the work that is necessary in order to grow in their leadership capacity. I am a person that is loving this message of emotional intelligence because I did not only just read about emotional intelligence in a book or just take a class, which I did all those things, but I also lived out the message of doing the work that's necessary to grow in emotional intelligence. And so I know that if you are intentional, if you are serious about growing in emotional intelligence, you are going to see results. You're going to see a transformation. You're going to see it play out in the way that you show up as a leader. Before I jump into the nuggets of this video, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be a part of our community so that you can get the teachings on growing as a leader. And also hit that like button because this is going to be a great video. Again, I'm excited about this topic because it was something that I did not think that I needed as a leader. And it proved me wrong because my professors knew best when they put the program together. I was proven wrong that I definitely needed to grow in emotional intelligence, and it was important in order for me to have better relationships, in order for me to just expand my capacity to have more compassion and more empathy for the work that I'm called to. So one of the areas that I dominate in as a leader is education. And so I'm even going to talk about in this video, we're diving deep into balancing being relationship oriented and task oriented. And high performing leaders have the capacity to balance both areas. And so you need to know, first of all, if you're going to grow in having a balance and being task oriented and relationship oriented, you have to first have an awareness on what end of the line you fall into the most. Are you a person that is more task oriented, where you are more focused and you are more concerned about getting results? You're more concerned about data, about metrics, about numbers, about statistics? Or are you a person that is more relationship oriented, where you are more concerned about building relationships, you're concerned about conflict, you're concerned about making compromises with people to make people feel comfortable, you're concerned about nurturing, you're concerned about inclusivity, you're concerned about people's voices getting heard? One of the things we understand is that sometimes we can have a little bit of both, or sometimes we really end up being on the stronger end of one side. And so, what we're going to do as we grow in emotional intelligence, again, one of the areas of emotional intelligence is being able to read the room. And so, what does the situation that you are talking about or you are finding yourself in need? Does it need someone that is more task oriented or more relationship oriented? But you have to be a person that challenges yourself to grow in either area. If you fall on one end too much, you have to figure out how to be balanced. You have to figure out how to grow and becoming a balanced leader, because both are very necessary. And so high performing leaders are going to challenge themselves to become balanced in this area because it's going to help you immensely. I'm going to read a couple of quotes for you that have transformed my thinking when it comes to emotional intelligence and really what the role is of feelings as a leader. Simon Sinek says, great leaders are willing to sacrifice the numbers to save the people. Poor leaders sacrifice the people to save the numbers. There's something that I also read that said great leaders get results without sacrificing people. They know that tasks are achieved faster and more sustainably when relationships are nurtured. This is why it's important, especially if you're a task-oriented person. Sometimes you can have some resentment towards a person who may just be relationship oriented. They may love just understanding people and listening to their stories and listening to why they do what they do. And then you see like, wow, are you ever getting any tasks done? And you don't see that they're actually getting some work done because they're creating sustainability. Maybe that is helping you to decrease your turnover rate. That's helping you to decrease the amount of new people you need to hire every year because people feel cared for, they feel seen, they feel loved within your organization. And so, what are you doing as a leader to balance yourself in order for you to be both task oriented and relationship oriented? Because sometimes, if you're too relationship oriented, you may not be getting any work done. And so, I want you to type in the comments. Are you more of a task oriented person or are you more of a relationship oriented person? Another quote that I've mentioned in the other videos, it says from Maya Angelou, at the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They will remember how you made them feel. And this really hit home for me one of my years of teaching. I believe it was my second year of teaching where my first 2 years, I was severely focused on just growing the kids and just getting results seen or getting numbers changed because academically we were not where we needed to be, and I was drastically concerned about that. But at the cost of that, and when I saw the results that I wanted, data wise, number wise, I found out that the kids did not feel loved or cared for. And I thought instinctively that they knew that they would feel that they were loved because I was trying to get them into a better academic situation because I wanted them to have more options in life. And I believed that education was going to be a gateway for them to have more options in life, but just having more knowledge about how the world works. And so I quickly learned, and it actually affected me. I felt a lot of pain. I felt a burden when I found out that they didn't feel loved after me putting in all of that work when it came to grading, when it came to making work, when it came to our academics and pushing those numbers and pushing them to have higher reading levels. I felt devastated when I found out that they felt like they were not loved. And I was like, what? I did all of that because I was just focused on tasks. I didn't care about how they felt. I didn't care about their emotions because I didn't care about my emotions. And that's really how I grew up. A lot of people know that I am Nigerian American. I have Nigerian parents. I was born in America, raised in America. And I really that's our upbringing. Our upbringing, what our parents taught us just to get our good education, focus on getting A's, focus on making good grades, focus on getting good results, get in a good school. And so emotions was never something that was talked about. But I realized that I was neglected in that area. And so I was, again, because I was not aware of that, I continued to perpetuate that as a teacher, as an adult. I was just focused on get a good education, get good grades, because you need to have a prosperous future. And I love you. Even if I don't say I love you, I'm loving you because I'm doing this. And so I had to learn, okay, what can I do differently? I now need to start saying, I love you, or I now need to start listening to people or listening when people are trying to tell me their feelings and not listen to give them a rebuttal or not listen to give them a solution if they didn't ask me, but sometimes listen just to be a listening ear, just to listen to understand, just to be somebody, just to be present for them because they needed somebody there for them. And so that is something that I had to just, it was very challenging because started off as a very task oriented individual. And so it was challenging for me to have to grow into listening and to caring about emotions and feelings because I was like, what does it have to do with your work? And I realized that if they did not feel loved, or if they did not feel, or if they didn't know how to acknowledge their emotions, or someone didn't talk to them about their emotions, then the kids didn't feel like doing the work at all because they already had emotions or anger or resentment or something happened at home. And so it affected them at school. And so how can you take this same concept in the context of where you work or in the context of where you lead? What type of team are you leading? Are you doing intentional things to check in with people to see how their family is doing? And so now something that I do is I intentionally learn about people beyond the work that they do. What do they care about outside of work? Because also too, this is another hack. If you want people to do something faster for you, or you want people to be invested in what you're doing, how about you be invested in their life as well? Sometimes we are so invested in what we're doing, the work that we're doing, the organization that we're building, and we're not even invested in the people's lives that are helping us to build out this vision. You're going to have a team of people that desire to work with you, that desire to do work because you have been invested or involved and really shown that you care for them as a human being. And you know this as a person where people, you felt like, wow, I don't care about this. This organization does not care about me. They don't care about my well-being. And therefore, I don't care about working hard here, or I don't care about showing up as my best self or doing hard work because they don't even care about my well-being. And therefore, you do not put in as much effort. Or there are people that you don't respond to at work because they do not have a good attitude. They're not nurturing. They're not a person that is sunshine to be around, or they don't care about people's feelings. They don't care about people's well-being. They just care about whatever the project is, whatever the task is, and they're ruining relationships, and you don't respond to them quickly. So you think about that. You sit in the situations that you have been in where you did not feel cared for. You did not feel like anyone cared about your well-being, and they just cared about, oh, are you coming to work and you're sick, and they're not even asking you, are you okay? Think about those times when that has happened to you. And that is that it should be the impetus to help you to grow in being relationship oriented. If you know that you are more task oriented than and you still have not mastered the relationship piece and how to have genuine organic relationships with people and not trying to get something out of people at all times, maybe you need to find somebody that does have that strength and speak to them and say, hey, I'm not really strong in this area. I want to learn from you, but also I want to lean in on your strength and make sure that maybe you can what is it that you can do in our organization that can help us to have better camaraderie, to have unity? Is there something there's some suggestions that you have? Because it seems like you have better people skills than me. You have to acknowledge that. If you know that you're a person that does not have those people skills, who on your team has those relationship building skills? Who on the team knows how to talk to people? Who knows how to, their words make sense to people and it doesn't trigger them. It doesn't cause them to be defensive. They know they have a way with words. They have a way with building relationships with people. Who on your team has that strength? Really lean in on them, or lean into what their strength and lean on them to build up that part of your organization, because maybe it's not you, or maybe you still need to grow in this area. So find someone else who is better in this area, who knows how to celebrate people's birthdays, who loves remembering people's birthdays. Little things like that actually go a long way. Because I'm telling you right now, people they may not like something that you did, but they'll remember that you looked out for them because you treated them like a human being. They'll remember that you did not chew them out when they were having a tough time with their child. They'll remember that, and they will work harder, or they will pardon you or give you grace when you are not so nice in a particular situation. And so I want us to think about that. And also, if you're a relationship oriented person, you need to start thinking about, okay, what can I do to be more task oriented? And if you're not strong in this area, lean into people that are good with data, because your data for your organization really should drive the certain policies that you all put in place. And so who on your team is good with numbers? Who is good with those spreadsheets, those Excel sheets, those numbers, those statistics, those facts, the data? Who loves crunching those numbers? If you're a person that this is going to be very difficult, is you have to handle budgets and you are always trying to spend money on something because you just think something is so great and amazing. You think it's going to build great relationships on the team, but then you're running out of money every year because you're so focused on that. Who on your team loves accounting, who loves numbers, who enjoys that? If you're a person that doesn't enjoy it yet, or you have not sat down and learned how to process those things, know what your strengths are and know where you need to either hire somebody, or you already have someone on your team and you need to push them and you need to give them a greater voice in that area, and not downplay the fact that you need both on the team. And so in order to grow in emotional intelligence, you have to acknowledge that being task-oriented and relationship-oriented matters. There are certain situations, certain things that result in you having to be task-oriented. You have to do it. And even if it's boring to you, even if that's something that's not strong, maybe your role forces you in that place. Are you going to go through the journey, go through the process to grow in this area, or are you going to quit prematurely because it's uncomfortable to you? And same thing goes with being relationship oriented. There's times there are moments where we need to read the room, right? Where we talked about that, where you need to be aware that there's a time and place. Maybe the world is not going to fall apart if you need to give someone a day off, or if you need to if you need to help someone to process something. Matter of fact, it's actually going to be in your best interest to acknowledge someone's feelings and emotions, because if you do, it might help them to produce better work, because you gave them that space to think, you gave them that space to breathe, you were a sounding board, or you allowed them to share their opinions, and after they were done sharing their opinions, you listened to them, and then you let them get back to work, right? You didn't just say, oh, we just have work to do. No, talk about whatever it is that they need to talk about, let them get it off their chest. And it's not necessarily for you to have a rebuttal, or for you to have something to say back to them, but it's just for you to be a safe space. And that's another thing when it comes to being relationship oriented, is learning how to be a safe space, so that whoever you're called to, whatever leaders or whatever organization that you are a part of, whatever people you have to manage or you have to lead, can feel like you are a safe place, and they can feel like they can thrive, because these are where people begin to thrive. When people feel like they can thrive, your organization is then going to thrive. Your team is going to thrive. You're going to see results. And so now it is time for you to take an assessment. It's time for you to sit down with yourself, do a self-evaluation, and figure out where are the areas that you need to grow in. And then even within those buckets, the task oriented, there's even things within being task oriented that you may not have mastered yet. There's task oriented means you analyzing data, you being an accountant, or you looking at numbers, or you being able to take information and use it for your advantage. What part of those areas are you meeting deadlines? Maybe you are a person that likes statistics, or you like data, but you don't meet deadlines. And so now you have to grow in that particular area. And then under the umbrella of being relationship oriented, there's different facets to being relationship oriented. Are you a person that knows how to get to know new people, and you know how to build norms on your team, and you know how to be adaptable? Or do you know how to have courageous conversations? What is it that you understand on being relationship oriented? Do you know how to nurture? Do you know how to care for people when they're not feeling their best? Do you know how to encourage people and affirm people? Are you really good at affirmation? You may be a person that is just good at conflict management, where all you know how to do is have good conversations, but you're not really affirming, you're not really nurturing. So there's different facets, there's different windows to this, as there's different layers. It's a multifaceted thing here, and it's your responsibility to figure out, okay, what do I need to tap in, because you desire to grow as a leader and you don't want to stay in the same place. It's not okay. It's a cop out just to be like, oh, I'm just task oriented and I just love getting my work done. No. How are you growing as a leader? What are you challenging yourself to do? It's uncomfortable. When I had to sit there and listen to certain students tell me like certain things, I was like this. I was uncomfortable, but I had to sit through being uncomfortable to grow. And I'm still trying to grow in this area, still, because I understand that it does affect their performance. It does affect their beliefs about themselves. And so I know that personally it may not affect you. Maybe you feel like, oh, I don't need to be relationship oriented, or I don't need to task, but you do need them, right? You want to be a well-rounded person. And so think about that, and not think about, oh, just yourself, like that you got by without having anyone talk about your feelings, because I could have just did that, right? Because of the upbringing that I had. But I didn't, because I realized that I wanted to serve the people best that I was serving. I'm a servant leader. And so as a servant leader, what is it that I can do to serve the people at the best capacity, at optimal capacity? And that was me growing in that particular area, because that's what the people needed. And so sometimes you have to figure out, what is it exactly that is needed in this season? And do I have those things? And if I don't have it, can I find someone within the organization that does have it? Because chances are they do have it. And if they don't, then how am I going to grow other people and myself? Can I get people on the same journey as me, where we all grow in this area, because we all need this type of development and we all need to be challenged in this area. If you really desire to be challenged, I want you to join us next year in our leadership school, and we're going to give you all information soon. So I want you to click the link in the description box so that you can get more information about our leadership school and the different programs that we're offering to grow emerging leaders so that you're not stuck in the same place, so that you're not complacent, that you experience evolution. You are evolving, you're transforming as a leader. And you are a multifaceted, multi-layered being, and you want to see different layers of yourself. And this is how you see the different layers. You take some time, you're intentional about your growth and development as a leader. I also want you to get our book, How to Dominate in Your Destiny, one of my favorite books because it helps you with your leadership journey and it helps you to grow your confidence as a leader in the space that you're called to dominate in. It gives you language about understanding your purpose and your destiny. All right. If you have any questions, let me know what they are in the comments box. I would love, love, love to engage with you in there. So leave a comment letting me know if you enjoyed this and letting me know what other leadership topics you want to hear about. I want you to let me know those things in the comments. And also, I want you to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you didn't like this video, go ahead and like this video. You are going to grow immensely this year because you are taking the time to grow and you're being intentional about your development. Share this video with another leader that is wanting to grow in their leadership abilities as well, because these things matter whether or not we tangibly see them in our hands. It affects your life, it affects your relationships, it affects your health, it affects you in more ways than you know. It affects how you get, if you get promoted or not. So some of you are wondering why you haven't been promoted. You need to understand, being both task oriented and relationship oriented, you're going to see results when you put in the work. All right, I'm going to build iconic dreams with you all later. Love you like a leader. Have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.